Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Innovation Engineering Out of the Crisis 2. My name is Doug Hall, and I want to just check before we get started to make sure that you're getting it. If somebody could just put in a question, just to make sure that the audio and everything is working. If somebody could just type in a thing. Okay, good, we're there. Just wanted to make sure that the technology and all is working. Innovation Engineering Out of the Crisis 2. That's the title of my new book that I'm working on. And it's named in honor of Dr. W. Edwards Deming's book by the same name, Out of the Crisis. Quick history. 1979, the Western world is in crisis. Japanese quality is causing a real challenge as customers have found that they're making goods that are of much better quality than us. The U.S. auto industry has lost 4 share points in 3 years to Japan, and they're in a near panic as they've gone from 82% to 78%. Recently, I spoke in Detroit to a collection of them. Today, it's under 40%. At the time, Bill Conway, CEO of National Corporation, is trying to compete with Japan, with Ricoh and others. He's in Japan to try to figure out how do they make things so good. And he discovers the secret. The secret is a statistician from Powell, Wyoming. A statistician who had taught the Japanese how to apply system thinking to their quality problems. NBC did a story about him, and his name is Dr. W. Edwards Deming. And it led to a transformation in the world of business as we know it. Deming famously taught that 94% of failures are due to the system, 6% are due to the worker. That it is the systems of how we work and the thinking systems, the training, the tools, the techniques, the systems that are the issue, not workers who don't want to do a good job. The prize for quality in Japan is known as the Deming Prize. When you hear of Toyota manufacturing and you hear Sony and other famous things out of Japan, they all came from this man. So out of the crisis 1, the quality gap versus Japanese products. Now, out of the crisis 2, today. Today, the crisis is how the internet transforms companies and careers into price-driven commodities. I mean, quite simply, the internet has created a true free market, and competition is now global and everywhere. We have competitors coming out of nowhere that we've never even seen before. Price value transparency on our offerings like never before, and the customers are now in more control. They can learn the real truth. We cannot get away with a suboptimum product because customers don't know about it. They can find it out. Against this backdrop, the increase that's happened with the internet is such that there is a flood that is happening. So here's what's happening, folks, okay? So the internet is accelerating knowledge transfer like never before. Here's the growth in U.S. patent applications that's happened. And I mean, you clearly look along and see like nothing's happening, then all of a sudden, oh my God. And guess what? When we overlay the internet, the growth in the number of internet users, you find that these two things align. I mean, part of what happened is people around the world are now able to connect, and ideas are feats of association like never before. To add to this crisis, 2 out of 3 patents filed in the USA are from somebody born outside and owned outside the USA. It is a global world now. That's the deal. It's not going back. I'm sorry, folks. 2008 was not an analogy. It was the transition. And in fact, if you look in there closely, you can't really see it. But you see at 2000, you see at 2008, a huge spike in the internet. Guess what? That's what's happening. It's destroying the biggest of companies. So we went back to the year 2000 and looked at the largest corporations in the year 2000, before the internet really took off. And what you find is that the 10 most valuable corporations have declined 61% in value since then. The system of management doesn't work, folks. We have to change the way we do things. We have to change the way we do things. And so this brought up the question, if there's such a change, could we see it? Well, as it turns out, we've actually seen it because I'm old and I've been doing this for a long time. So I asked the question, what does a culture look like just before death? And we are compulsive compilers of data. Arguably, nobody in the world has more data on real projects being done by real teams doing it than anybody else in the world. I mean, it just doesn't happen. And as it turns out, we went back in the archives and we found these 3 companies just before they died. Because companies come to the Eureka Ranch, either whether they be Nike, Disney, Schlumberger, really successful companies, because they get innovation, or they come because they're in trouble. And these three companies came when they were in trouble. And we measured their leadership perceptions of their culture just before death. And sure enough, we find they were in basically denial. I mean, this is just shortly before they went. Their agreement with the need to innovate, 40th percentile, urgency to innovate, 55th percentile. Now, it's not that they were stupid. You can understand it somewhat when you realize they are absolutely frozen in fear. Success with innovations, courage to take action, there is none. And I would argue, ladies and gentlemen, that today, that is the phenomenon that you see across the board. Small companies, large companies, universities and government. People don't know what to do. I would argue that the solution to the crisis is to go back to 1979, 1980, which is systems thinking, and apply it now to innovation. To apply it to change our system of thinking. Now, I hear some of you saying, but Doug, system thinking is to the factory. Lean, Six Sigma. Yes, these are the descendants of Dr. Deming. All of this came from Dr. Deming. Well, Dr. Deming was in his 80s when the revolution happened in the Western world. He also said in his second book, his second mass market book, that the factory offers 3% of the opportunity for company improvement. That the real impact of systems thinking will be seen in innovation, strategy, and how we work together. So that's what this is about, friends. This webinar is about how do we take the work of Deming, which has seen unparalleled success with regards to quality and in the systems of how we did it in the factory, and now start to apply systems thinking across the whole organization. That's why I'm proud to introduce Innovation Engineering. It is a movement around the world that brings together universities, governments, small companies, and large companies. And our mission is to change the world. Our mission is to change the world by enabling innovation by everyone, everywhere, every day, resulting in increased speed to market and decreased risk. It's about democratizing it to engaging everybody in the process. And most importantly, many innovation systems are out there. They're a system to create ideas. It's not about ideas, it's about speed to market. I welcome you to the movement. Publicly started in 2009, we're small but growing. Grounded in decades of research, 30,000 educated. We have partners and universities, $8.2 billion in active projects right now under active development. And as I said, it brings together all of these people, and it's grounded in data. As we say, in God we trust, all of us must bring data. The largest data set of innovations, teams, and real-world projects. Not case studies, but real stuff. The core pedigree of this actually was first made real at Procter & Gamble when I led the invention team with Eric Schultz. The system approach led to 9 innovations to market in 12 months. 9 in 12 months. At a fraction of the time and cost. I then founded Eureka Ranch, working with companies from all over, working on a reliable system, and have written books on it. But before we get into it, I have to ask you 3 simple questions. The first is, what is innovation? Specifically, how would you know you had an innovation when you saw one? I mean, if we can't agree on what it is, then how are we going to do it? Number 2, why innovation? As a way, tell me why I need to do this in a way that motivates people to change. Nobody wants to change. Why should we change? And the third is, how do you innovate? This is about your current system, be it formal or informal. I'm a new employee. You tell me it's really important. I want you to do it. How do you want me to do it? What do you want me to do? Can you give me that clarity as to what to do? Well, when I ask CEOs and company leaders these 3 simple questions, they have a hard time answering them. Quite simply, they can't answer these questions. And if I'll tell you one of the things, and as I wrote this morning, one of the things I learned this year is we have to answer these basic questions. Friends, if we don't address these fundamental questions, do not pass go, do not collect $200, as they say in the game Monopoly. We have to be able to answer these questions. And if we don't have agreement on these, nothing's going to happen. And most of the time, people are in talking about innovation, and other people are going, I don't get it. I don't get it. So let me give you our answers to these three questions, which is what we promised in this webinar. First off, what is an innovation? So we have a very clear and specific definition, which is an innovation is meaningfully unique. It brings meaning and value to a customer's lives. It offers them something that is of significance. And it is unique, and in its best case, something they can't get anywhere else in the world. With the internet economy, it's called the world. I place an order, something shows up from Europe in 3 days. In the world, meaningfully unique. Now, a product or service is meaningfully unique. The consequence of meaningfully unique is when you truly have meaning and value that they can't get anywhere else, then customers are willing to pay more money for it. Nobody wants to pay more money. Nobody sits there and says, let's pay more money. I love to pay more money. You only pay money when you're getting something that you can't get anywhere else, and you're willing to pay more money because it's so wicked cool that you got to have it. And quite frankly, the consequence is if you're not meaningfully unique, then you need to be cheap. I mean, it's kind of that simple. That's what it amounts to, folks. You are either meaningfully unique or you're cheap. You got two options, monopoly, commodity. And monopoly is a lot more profitable. I don't care about innovation. I don't care about ideas. But if you want to make more money, what's your next best option? It needs to be meaningful to three. Meaningful to the customer, tick the box. Meaningful to the company, tick the box. But you know something? It is so hard to do new things that it has to be meaningful to the person working on it. If there isn't intrinsic motivation, it's not going to happen. So that's why I will tell you, and this is, and I apologize in advance, it is not official, but it is the movement. And when you get to meet our wonderful friends from the Innovation Engine Network, our 50 partners around the world, and when you get with one of them, somewhere in the conversation, when they say, what's this thing all about? I can tell you what they're going to say. They're going to say, quite simply, what innovation engineering is about. It's about do cool shit that matters. It's about doing something that matters in the world. Doing something that makes a real difference. Now, there are two types of innovations. There are very important opportunities, which is our outward-facing stuff that we're normally used to talking about. New customers, new markets. There's also very important systems for changing how we work. The key is very, very important. What's very important to our organization? There are two levels of organizations. There are core innovations that keep us competitive. But there's also those that change the trajectory, and these are the leap innovations that create our future. A balanced portfolio is 85% core and 15% leap. And you should be aware that 50% of profit growth will come from leap. Okay, so you look at your projects and you say, would a customer be willing to pay more money? Or if it's a system improvement, would other people in our organization be willing to invest time and money in making a change in how we work? Pretty simple. Very simple. So why do we do it? Well, here's the deal, folks. We are all born. We grow. We hit our highest peak, and then we go into, in a business world, cost cutting, and then we die. In fact, we all die. What innovation does is it creates never-ending life. It allows us to restart the curve. I mean, quite simply, we need to innovate because we don't want your organization to die. It is as simple as that. It is, ladies and gentlemen, the best of times or it is the worst of times. If you are meaningfully unique, it is the best of times to be in business. And if you are offering the same old stuff as everybody else, it is the absolute worst of times. Life and death. How do we do it? Well, we do it by taking the work of Deming, who commercialized systems thinking. See, there's wonderful research that's been gone on that finds that when it comes to making ideas happen, innovation or change of any kind is about more than the big idea hunt. You got the big idea plus your system for how you do it equals success. 16-year study of MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, their big ideas. A company licenses those technologies. They then put it into the average system for developing it, and they've gone all the trouble of licensing it, and the net result is 80% failure, they never ship. It's more than just the idea, folks. 80% of the problem, at least, is the system. We've got others, references, 2 or 3 different references that show that exact same thing, that 80% of it is the system for development. And so you've got to have that capability in order to be able to do it. It's not just a search for ideas. In order to create a culture, which is the highest order, and I'm going to give you 3 different levels. I'm going to give you ways to talk about this, to just create ideas, to get a capability and a culture. But let's start from the biggest one, and then we'll work our way down. To create a culture of innovation, you need education. You need tools. And you need some mentoring to make the education and the tools get activated. So education. In our case, the education is pretty significant. We have a innovation engineering black belt curriculum that is actually taught on campus as 6 semesters. So this is 3 years on a regular college campus. If you didn't do summers, it takes to go through this. We have a course in create, communicate, commercialize systems, and then an experience class where we do define and discover, and an experience class where we do develop. 6 courses. These 6 courses have a core set of 48 skills that have been approved with industry as the 48 core skills that you have to know. On campus, it's 6 semesters. With executives, it's 6 months, with 93% of the time spent applying it to your organization. So it's not a lot of theory. This is called engineering. It's about applied. It's about applied is how that works. And new this year, you can come as an individual to it. You can come to what we call Blue Belt to get started, to make that work. We have a whole different way of teaching than what you're used to, with digital classes, lab classes, application, reflection, and experience. And it's designed such that everybody who is willing will achieve mastery. Off the work of Benjamin Bloom. Now, Black Belt is the master. These are the change agents, the people that lead the transformation. We also have a very simplified Green Belt, which is basically functional literacy for employees to be part of teams. And new coming up now is we have a Blue Belt, which is designed for the leadership, to give them deep knowledge about what was required to be management coaches and to lead it. And the question is oftentimes asked, does leadership have to go to class and get educated? Well, a simple answer is no, they don't. They don't have to. However, we need to be honest with you, there are consequences of not doing it. And because we have data that tracks, and we can track your company like all the others, we track them, we find that results decline by up to 85% when leadership is not engaged. Unlike Six Sigma, where you could do it separately without leadership's engagement, with innovation engineering, without leadership's engagement leading the alignment, you're going to get a fraction of the returns. That's the reality. Some companies say that's good enough. Fine, we just need to be open with you. There are 3 key principles behind innovation engineering, and this comes from data tracking some 7,000 large company teams, 6,000 small company teams, and what we find is that big ideas, meaningful, unique ideas, come from exploring stimulus, feeding the brain, feeding the mental food processor, kicked up to an exponential level by diversity of thinking. This is the potential of what we're there for, to the level that we're able to drive out fear. Fear shuts us down before we begin, and today, ladies and gentlemen, fear is at epidemic proportions. We're blocked in fear. If you are unaware, I can measure your organization. We can find this. The Create course teaches exploring stimulus and leveraging diversity. The Drive Out Fear teaches communicate and commercialize, because quite frankly, the fear is the hardest part. Now, we create by exploring stimulus. We feed the brain. Market mining, benchmarking, customer insight mining. These are the bases, and these work good for the core innovations we talked about. But we also add tech mining, wisdom mining, and patent mining, and future mining and unrelated mining that stretch our brains. And this is where not only do you get core, but this is where the leap ideas, and we're right now, just now, looking at the reflections from students. The reflections from students on campuses around the country, around the world actually, because also out of the country. And what we're finding is that the students are finding that the patent mining and the unrelated mining, the things on the ends and the wisdom, are the ones that are really helping them kick alive. And that's where they're finding the big ideas. Not only do we explore the stimulus here and take people in depth in this, but we do different levels. It's not just reporting the facts, it's an immersion, a full three-dimensional immersion into it, getting people to do it. Synthesis of what-if hypotheses to be able to do it. It's about getting into this seriously. And we use this stimulus by leveraging diversity and opening up the team to new thoughts and new ideas with create sessions and accelerators and systems designed to help use the exponential power that is diversity. Now, people sit there and they say, but Doug, but wait, meaningful, unique, that means we've never done it before. That means there could be fear. And you're right. And in fact, it honestly is. Because if I graph new and different versus purchase intent, precursors to meaningful and unique, what you find happens is that the more unique you get, the more you go out there, way out there on the edge, down this way, the more you get down to this edge, then the more likely you are to be wicked good or wicked bad. As you do stuff that is less new and different, then you're more likely to get to the same old stuff. The question is, how do I manage this? Because I don't want the failures, and prevention of a negative is far more motivational for people because they're gripped in fear. So we have two ways that we resolve this. The first thing we do is we make the unknown known. We look at your ideas from the customer's perspective because that's the only person that is going to buy it. We define who's the customer in their problem. What are we going to promise to address the problem? And what is the proof that we can deliver on the promise to deliver against their problem? Looking at it from the customer's perspective. We also drive up here, we use fast cycles of the scientific method, or the Deming cycle. Plan, do, study, act. He changed it from check to study in his later years. Plans, what's our definition of success? Do, what is our hypothesis? Study, what did we learn? Act, what are we going to do? We call it fail fast, fail cheap. Rapid cycles of learning. Now, some learning cycles are simple. Plan, do, study, act. And in Deming's day, this was how it was talked. In today's world, with the interrelationships, they actually look more like this. And so we built our systems and platforms to be able to handle multiple elements in the same plan, do, study, act cycle. Because you see, friends, instead of a relay race where we hand it from department to department, we're going to play whack-a-mole with all of the elements, making and solving for the whole. Making and solving for the whole. That's what we're looking to do. That's what we're looking to do. So how do you create this culture? Okay, so that's education, now tools. So we have create tools, gazillions of create tools, commercialize tools, communicate tools, stimulus mining, video library. We have documentation of the processes, how to do it, as well as a support community called the Brain Brew Cafe. But let me take you into some of the wicked cool tools. The wicked cool tools, as we say in Maine, alignment. The biggest challenge at the Innovation Engineering Conference that people said they had coming to our conference last spring, need ideas? No. Increase speed, decrease risk? No. Alignment was the big issue. So there's two elements to alignment, vertical and horizontal. And this is why that leadership is so important. Why leadership is so critical. And by the way, frankly, if leadership wasn't important, then they could be a cost savings opportunity. The fact of the matter is they're critical. Leadership defines what we need and why we need it. In our world, that has become what's known as the blue card. It didn't start as that, but the community took that on as its name, where we define very important opportunities and very important systems. We define not only the narrative as to why it matters, but the mission, the constraints, and it's the strategic exclusions and the tactical constraints that are issues. Real clear. In the military, they call this commander's intent. With that clarity of the mission, the employees then invent the yellow cards, identifying the customer, problem, promise, proof. What this system does is it gets us vertical alignment between strategy and ideas. Absolute alignment on the mission and what are we doing. So that gets us on mission, but now how do we make it work? And that's the horizontal alignment. And what we do here is we have clarity for not only core innovations, but also leap innovations. Now, we define it with some words: define, discover, develop alpha, develop beta, develop first release, and deliver. You can change any of these words to anything you want. This is just the stock, and then you can set and change it to whatever. You can call it Larry, Curly, Moe, and Shemp after the Three Stooges. I don't care. But this gives us clarity. But we're going to treat core innovations different than leap, because what we need to do with a leap is different than a core. With core, we need to have absolutely drive out the risk because we're messing with the current thing. With leap, we got to maximize learning. Now, we then set up that we have milestones, and most all companies have a stage gate or some phase gate system that defines milestones and develop. We add in front of that the define and discover stages, where with a very small team, we're working out what we call the death threats. What are the things that could kill this project? Because once we go into develop, moving the battleship is too hard. We have to have clarity at the start before we go in. When you have that, you increase odds of success 250 to 400%. So we have death threats. Now, one of the things I learned this year is that we originally let people come up with what are the death threats and the milestones as they went in. And the problem we found when we did this is they tended to be pretty low in task-based things. So what we've done is we've come up with some pre-populated checklists of death threats and milestones where we define what is the issue, why it's important, and how to do it. This means that for a death threat, we know what it is, why it's important, and how. Frankly, to be honest with you, think about it. Who has better documentation of what they're supposed to do? A person running a $50 million innovation project at a major corporation or a burger flipper at a fast food restaurant? Folks, we gotta get disciplined on our systems, because once we get it documented, then we can make improvements to it. And these death threats and milestones need to be focused on the risks, which in our case, everyone is either listed on market risk, which is all of the elements associated with going to the market, distributors, retailers, whatever it might be, as well as technology risk, everything associated with the it, whether it's a service or a product, and then organizational risk, the finance, the legal, regulatory, all of that stuff. And so this gives us clarity, and we have lists for opportunities that are core, that are leap, and for systems. And we have them on a best practices list, which is for the biggest of corporations. And we have a simplified list that's good for small companies or for others, where they might want to have just 2 phases that they do instead of 6, or whatever they might want to do. We start with the stock lists, and then as you work, you customize them to make them work with what your organization is. Works right out of the box. Fail fast, fail cheap makes learning painless, and it makes it easy for us. And it's named after my father, Merwin Bradford Hall. My father's the man who introduced me, because he worked at Nasher Corporation. He's the man who introduced me to Merwin, and he's passed away this past year, and so I've named it in his honor. It's insight and inspiration, where you get concept writing feedback in seconds, smart advice where you do concept tests with early stage forecasts in minutes, and validated decision support, investment grade sales forecasts in hours. And I'm going to go right now to the website, and I'm going to take you in to the new platform that's coming that will be released in the next few weeks. And what you've got here is I've gone into innovations, and I have here my concept, my yellow card, as you saw. And if I go back here to innovations, you can see here's actually the blue card. I can bring up the blue card that's connected to this. And blue cards can be on a department level or an organizational level. And say I go in, and this one happens to be on pizza, which is one of my favorite things to do. We've got the customer concept. We've got the math game plan, because no math. You can see here's the sales forecast for it. And we've got the learning plan, which is where I can put in my checklist. And you can see we've got different ones here that I can go to. So that systematized things. But say I'm working on this idea and I say, you know something, I need some help with this. I'm pretty lousy. I'm an engineer. I'm a chemical engineer, and I'm not so good at writing, so I need some help with it. So all we do is we click over here on Idea Coach. So here's my idea. I go, let me get some advice on it. This is freaking awesome. The computer just read the yellow card, and it's given me some advice now on how to fix it. Make sure you promise to solve the problem. Problem and promise should be opposite of each other. If your problem is you are frustrated, then promise you won't be frustrated. If the promise is too slow, then promise fast. Keep it simple. Okay, let's look at what I got here. Let's see, promise, problem and promise. Let's see, the problem is pizza is cold when it's served. Promise is great taste with less calories. Okay, so I get it. I need to get these aligned. I need to bring these things in alignment. You get the basic idea. I can then score the advice, and it can tell me if I need some help with it. And that helps us get smarter as a system. Well, say I've done that, and after having run that, I say, well, I can do those cycles as much as I want to make it better. But I go in and I say, you know something? I need some fresh ideas. I am like brain dead on this thing. I cannot think about this stuff at all. So now what I've done is I've gone to idea doubling. Okay? So now what I can do is I select up to 3 parts that I want fresh writing on. So say I need help with the name, I need help with the headline, and the customer, or whatever elements I want to do. Okay? And then I send this out. And I can take this and email this to some friends, or I can use the Collaboration Cafe to send it out. So let's go in and see what I've got. So my reports come in. Here's my responses. And now I asked for some help with the news headline, really great pizza for the people of today. Kind of lame. Well, I'm an engineer. What can I do? Oh, wait a minute. Here's one. The only pizza that stays hot and keeps you looking hot because it's under 400 calories. Let's see. Greg wrote that. That's really good. I like that one. Okay, so I'm going to paste that one in. So you can see what I've done is I've been able to collaborate with some other people to get some feedback and some ideas that I can use, and it's that quick. So say my idea goes forward. Now I want some more details on it, so I go to Idea Scan. I decide to run, and I can send this out to some people to get some different ratings on it. And I get ratings by the people on my team, okay? I get, you can see my clarity, benefit promise, my concept. Now I get my scores by person, and look, so let me click on another one of these. I got another one of these that's better. Because it has somebody else in it. So here's my scores, and you can see I scored it a 43 overall, and Greg scored it a 32. So clearly, Greg's not seeing it as great as I am. I'm probably adding stuff that actually isn't in it. And I can also see advice I got from different people, as well as I can see other areas to look. And this number here can be used in my sales forecasting system to give me better quality. So it's like a calibrated feedback system. Say I then turn around and I want to take it further. I can then turn around and run a sales forecast on it. I can enter in numbers. And this is let me just go back one, run the other one. So what it's doing is it's introducing the project 10,000 times into the marketplace, and then we're getting some assumptions. So here's my concept that you saw before. Here's my meaningful uniqueness score. Here's my final decision makers, revenue for first purchase, various things. And here you can see my risk-adjusted sales forecast. And based on the one that I thought it would be, small company, this product could do, this is for a local pizza place, could do $90,000 in sales. That's what it would be if it was aggressive, is what I'm thinking it's going to do. All of this is just built into the Labs platform. I also have the ability in here to do Truth Teller, which is investment grade forecasts, as well as rapid tests to do my product testing, as well as insight mining to find out different things associated with my ideas. So I can pull up a report for a collection of problems that I had. Pizza's cold, lots of calories, really greasy, different things. You can see how big of a problem and how frequent a problem it is, as well as statistical analysis as to what makes the differences between these people. No statistician required, absolutely automated. You just open up the thing, send it out to people, and it does all of the calculations for you. So that's the Merwin platform. Say I need help with patents, and so I type in pizza, because I need help with my pizza. It now runs a search, and I have free blueprints. These are free patents that you can use, which is the best. This is what students are using massively now for their stuff because they figured it out. I've got trend blueprints, which are in force, but I've also got flea market ones. And flea market blueprints are ones that are going to go in the public domain that we can buy cheap. And so I can look at those as an opportunity. Now, say on my pizza that's low calorie that I want to do. One of the problems with my low calorie pizza is that it can be difficult to keep it crispy. Because when you start to take it down, the pie gets kind of limp. Well, look, here's a technology that's free, came out of Illinois, a method for making pizza having permanent crispiness when a particular breadcrumb material is used to modify the dough. So there's a special type of dough. Well, here's the blueprint on how to do exactly that to solve that problem, and it's free because it's in the public domain. So you can see the dimensions of what it can do. So that gives you a sense as to what we're talking about here. One last thing I want to show you. Collaboration Cafe serves as my dashboard for all of my tests, my collaboration, requests I send out to other people. Everything is there, so I can see everything in one dashboard as we're doing it. Okay, so back here to these, and we'll just finish up, and then I'll take your questions. Rapid feedback, Collaboration Cafe, somebody somewhere has solved your problem. It's about multiplying capacity. What would usually take you weeks, somebody can do it in hours. But here's the problem we face. 9 out of 10 people at corporations don't cooperate well. That's what the data says. This is a test base of 12,000, okay? People just don't cooperate. And so we've got to break this because it's a force multiplier. And so we've got a collection of things from tiered security to intrinsic motivation to many systems that are part of that Collaboration Cafe that I just showed you quickly. Patent ROI is about blueprints, so you can get alerts for these things. Writing a patent in about an hour. We have a full-time patent attorney on staff who's working on it. And buying or selling. So, education, tools, and mentoring. The mentoring is startup mentoring to get you started, to get people success. This is not us doing it, it's you doing it. Teaching your people how to do it so they can apply it so that you can be successful right out of the box. Once you've got that done, then we take it out and roll it out and help you with the support. Both us and the whole network does that. You got 2 simple decisions. Decision number 1 is, do you believe that it is important to offer meaningful, unique products and services? And I mean, this is the starting place. You've got to believe that this is really important. If you think you can get there by cost cutting, I can't help you. But if you think in today's competitive marketplace with the internet that this is important, then you have three options. You can acquire innovation creativity. Get some help with some ideas, and there's great value to this because sometimes people can't even imagine that there's anything possible, and so it's hard to talk about anything further because they've never seen it. Some business people have never really seen a leap innovation in their careers because for many years we didn't have to have them. Next up, okay, you got ideas? Capability. Building the capability inside to be able to do that. And some organizations know they can do it, but they know they need a capability. And lastly, a culture. And there's some real advantages to a culture, but there's also challenges. So creativity, capability, or culture. The honest truth is that most adults are really resistant to change. So I'm going to be perfectly honest. After doing this stuff for way too long, all of them have pain. So decision 2 is, which pain do you have the energy for? Which pain do you have the energy for? You know, acquiring creativity ideas is cool, but do you have the energy to deal with the pain of moving the mountain of negativity as ideas enter the culture? As ideas go into the culture, there's going to be a blowback against them. Capability. Do you have the energy to deal with the pain of mediating the family feud? Because you're going to light up some people. We will get your people cranking. They will have the capability to do it. I can guarantee that. However, then they're going to hit the friction of the culture. Some people say, I'm good with that. Or we'll just do it in one area because there's one division that can really do that. That's cool. Or feeling the pain of growing a culture, which is the pain of teaching old dogs new tricks. And I'll be honest with you, it's tough. I tell the students on campus, I'm going to change the world. The whole movement's going to do it. We're going to try to teach your parents. If they don't get it, you're going to have to take over. So I'm in this for another 25 years, and I can tell you this. One way or the other, we're going to get there, whether it's this generation or the next. But it may be that we have to grow a whole new culture to do it. I understand it. We'll do what we got to do. And quite simply, we support all of these options and our network partners. We have incredibly awesome network partners who are bringing this stuff together and doing create sessions for core, accelerators for leap, and bringing in capability and culture, and we can make them all work. And it's really simple. You know, with culture, we do the whole set. With capability, we do education and tools. With creativity, we do tools and mentoring. And really important is that what we find is these principles are timeless. You know, when you do Six Sigma in a small company or large company, the principles don't change. Well, it's the same with innovation engineering. The principles don't change. And we specifically, I should just let you know, is we chose the name Black Belts because we are really kindred spirits with the world of Six Sigma, which has tended to become focused on the factory and cost and productivity. We tend to be focused on growth, but the two work together quite well. For small and micro businesses, we offer a scholarship program, a very aggressive scholarship program for those companies that qualify based on the SBA rules for small businesses, and then we also have a definition for micro businesses. And they get the same tools. We're not going to dumb things down for them. They get the same tools and the same systems. So, ladies and gentlemen, we can change the world. Everyone. We can enable everyone to innovate. At least 90% of them is where we are right now, and we're getting better at our education. We can increase speed to market up to a factor of 6. We know this. We can decrease risk by 30 to 80%. We know this. We have documentation. We can increase development success by 250%. We know this. And more important than any of this is we can make life fun again. Infinitely more fun. So that you're doing the job you dreamed you would do when you got into your career. So in closing, I'm optimistic. As Ben Franklin said, as long as I have known the world, I have observed that wrong is always going more wrong, and that right, however opposed, comes right at last. But we must take responsibility. And so I'll end with my favorite quote from Franklin, a quote so important to me that when I'm laid to rest in Springbrook, Prince Edward Island, it'll be carved on my tombstone. As Franklin said, up sluggard and waste not life, in the grave will be sleeping enough. Up sluggard and waste not life, in the grave will be sleeping enough. Deep inside all of us is a little voice that if we listen close tells us what we should do and what we must do. Folks, the world has changed. It's not going back. That means we got to reboot and restart how we do it. And there's a movement, a wonderful movement of people that have come together from around the world to figure it out. We don't know how to do it, but we're smarter than we were 6 months ago, and I can promise you we'll be smarter again. And we're seeing remarkable successes. So what are you waiting for? Get up, get out, get going. Innovation Engineering, our mission to change the world by enabling innovation by everyone, everywhere, every day, resulting in increased speed to market and decreased risk. And with that, I will take your questions. So feel free to type in questions. And the first question, right off the top, are all of the features you covered today going to be available to small companies? And I can proudly say that it hasn't been in the past, but with the release of 3.0, 100% of the capabilities of the labs site and the processes and accelerators are all exactly the same for small companies and large companies. You don't have to. You can use the simplified checklists, and then when you get into bigger projects, use the best practices one. But everything 100% the same. Small companies, large companies. I just did Innovation College where we compressed it. We had some small companies here from down in Louisiana and from Pennsylvania. And I told them, just let me tell you, I'm going to treat you with respect, which means I'm not going to dumb this down. You're going to get the same course that Fortune 10 companies get. Same exact course. Now, I understand that some of this may be beyond what you need, but I'm believing that you're going to actually make a difference in the world, and you're going to need it sooner rather than later. So we teach exactly the same. Is Merwin going to be available to small companies? So what's going to happen is everything that you saw in the Merwin suite that you saw in there, and I'll just go back to it real quick, that complete suite is available to small companies. And what's really cool about it is that not only do you have these here, but let's take the first couple here, okay? Insight and inspiration. What you're going to do is in Collaboration Cafe, you're going to set up collaboration networks. So what you can do is you can go out and set with a group of people, say a group of customers, and make them part of a customer panel that you send ideas to and get feedback from. You can also create a collection of vendors that you can send stuff out that maybe they can help you with different things and stuff like that. Okay, let me see what else I got. Oh, geez, holy cow. How can a small company explore a scholarship? Okay, so small companies explore a scholarship. If you're in a community where there is an Innovation Engineering Network person, which that list is going to be going up in January on the website, so you can contact them direct. Right now, what you should do is just contact us here at the Eureka Ranch, or when the note comes to you, just bounce back a note to somebody here, and we will get you a person in your area. And the reason we say that is because, quite frankly, just the travel costs alone for traveling to places, the math just doesn't work. And so we've got pretty good coverage across all of Canada and the U.S., a little bit spottier in Europe and in Asia, but we have great coverage across Canada and the U.S., pretty much all of them, except for Hawaii, but I got a lot of volunteers that will cover you in Hawaii if you want. So if you just contact us, we can lay out the packages, and they're very simple and straightforward. And I had a CEO who was here last week under the scholarship program, and he said to me, he has to pay some money, but it's a fraction. He said, when they told me what the cost was, I said, that's ridiculous. And they said, that's right. That's a scholarship program. And that's an important part of our mission here, is to help those. And be perfectly honest, it's Robin Hood. Big companies pay a fair price, a very fair price. And we use that money and invest it back in to small companies where we try to break even. And on the micro companies and universities, we lose money on every student we have, because the students also get the full thing. How do we define a micro business? So our definitions are quite simple. For now, it's the best that we know. We use as the definition for small companies the SBA definition and the U.S. Patent Office. If you apply to the Patent Office and you have under 500 employees in that company and all interrelated companies, so if you have a connection of interrelated companies, we count the whole, then you pay a fraction of the cost of others. They give a scholarship to you. If you have a smaller amount, now in their case they do it 5, we do 50. So we've defined micro businesses as 50 employees or less. And then small businesses are under 500, and then we have the others, and that's our basis for doing it. Comment here. This is another comment here. Thank you for the updates and the connections. This is helping me. This is helping a lot. And this video helps me understand some of the connections that I didn't see before. How much will it cost? It depends on who you're working with. There's a little bit of variance. I'm not playing games with you, but I'm being honest with you. In some locations, there are state or federal programs that do things. So if you contact us, we'll get you connected to somebody. This is a program. This is not a franchise. It's a license. So each of our partners sets their price, and in some cases they have other funding that can help with it. In some cases they don't. And so let us know and we can guide you to those to help with that. How can I find info about the scholarships on your site? We have not put the scholarships up today. They will be coming up about some of the packages that are there. And the reason being is we are right now going through, we sign our agreements with our partners each year. And we are right now going through the partners for sharing for next year. And so we just actually, in the case of small businesses, we actually doubled the scholarship that we offered. And so we need to get their buy-in to it. The key lead ones have already agreed, and so we're there. We're going with it. But we've got to make sure that there's support from the community for the scholarships as well, because these are our partners and we work together. And we have every indication they're going to do it. But I can't push that out until they do it. I can tell you those that don't support the scholarship aren't going to stay with us because it's a collective will, and this morass here that is this community, I long lost the ability to control this. The will of the community is that this is a very important thing that they want to, because they have to donate some of their time too. I mean, we give a lot towards it, but they have to put their time in, so we've got to make sure that we've got their alignment. So some of this will come. And so it's not defined out of there. You cited that 9 out of 10 people in a corporation don't collaborate. Is that why you've added the ability to manage different lists of people? All right. Okay, so we've got somebody who is on the beta test group, and so you've asked a question that I have to explain now. So the issue is collaboration. It is hard. It is really hard. To get this collaboration stuff to happen, it's really hard. So part of what we've done, if I can get back in here quickly, is part of what we've done with collaboration is you can create now your own networks. Because one of the things that we found out as we did it, and I just lost some video here, but I think I've done this wrong. Okay. Yeah, you're good there. I can create a private blog now that I can go in, and I can create, depending upon which tier of people I want it to be with, senior leadership partners, experts, or friends, and I can create my own blog list here. And what this allows me to do is, one of the things that we've learned from our research is that when it comes to collaboration, if I have to send something out to the entire world, to all of the people aren't inclined towards doing that. And so what I've got to do is I've got to make these things so that you can have your own networks, because people are scared about doing total organization. So you're going to have networks where you can get to other black belts and other organizations on the outside on a non-confidential basis, but you're going to have the ability to create your own sub-networks. And what we're finding is people have a collection of friends, and it's literally with one click you can create your own networks and you can go do them. And so yes, that is the reason why we're doing that. Are these tools available to everyone in a company or just black belts? I'm going to check the number, but I'm guessing it's around 95% of them are available to everybody in the organization. And we're not trying to hold back the other stuff. It's just some of the things require training today to be able to use them efficiently. Everything I've shown you is available to everybody. Everybody can do it. But some of the manuals and some of the setup things and the grading of green belts that the black belts do, those are set up just for black belts. But virtually everything is there. I mean, it's probably higher than 95% is available to everybody. And again, that gets back to last June Last June, we had Innovation Engineering Institute. So this whole thing is run by a group called the Innovation Engineering Institute, which brings together the University of Maine, our partners at Maine, and big companies, and we have board members who are provosts at universities and executives, CEOs. And that team came together last June, and that's when, as a collective group, we made the change to the mission that you might have seen. There was a number of different things that happened at that point. One of which was we changed the mission to be about everyone, everywhere, every day, that it was about empowering all the people, not just to have specialists. Now, you can have a capability if you need that. That's fine. I'm cool with that. I understand your organization's not ready to do more. No problem. No problem whatsoever if that's where you are. But the right thing to do to make this happen is we need to be able to help everyone, everywhere, every day. And so that was a key thing. Another change that happened that you may or may not be aware of is you'll notice that the icon's up above. So the exclamation point is create, and the quotations communicate. And the last one, commercialize, used to be a $sign, and we changed that in June at our meeting because of the international nature and to also more reflect the fact that these ideas have to go out to the world. And so that's the commercialize, and then systems is the three together. Would you explain the who, what, when, et cetera, of training and utilization of the Blue Belt? Okay, so what we do with Blue Belt is Blue Belts have so there's like 103 videos for the Black Belts that they have to watch, and then they do Innovation College. Then they have to complete the assignments, and then they have to do applications and the others, okay? And 93%, as I said, is focused on projects now. It's a change. The new Black Belt changes it to much more project-focused, less case studies, much more doing it in the company. Blue Belts, we haven't settled on the final numbers yet. We're going back and forth, but it's probably going to be about half. So it's going to be about 40 to 50 videos, sort of the core ones that they have to know. They then have to go through the 5-day Innovation College where they really get the mindset and get to see it and do it. And so we're really setting them up to be really the management coaches and leadership. They're not going to have to maybe literally stand up and run a create session, but they're going to have to fully understand fail fast, fail cheap, how the math's done, and some core elements. They've got to know it because you can't lead what you don't know. You just can't lead what you don't know. And so a way to think about it is it's Black Belt light to a degree. They don't have to finish assignments to 100%, but they need to get it. I will tell you there's a lot of pressure on people, and I don't want this to happen, but in a lot of companies, people have been saying, you know, if you do Blue Belt, then you're not as good as the other, and they're not. In fact, I specifically gave the color blue, which is the University of Maine color, and it is the color of innovation engineering. Our most important color to Blue Belt in recognition of the importance of those, the critical importance of those. Okay, somebody just said, I'm up in Maine. I'd like to see someone here. Yeah, you got a couple of different people you can go to. Of course, the university. Who can my local university contact at Innovation Engineering to join the movement? If you just contact us at the ranch, or you can call the University of Maine, the Foster Innovation Center. James Beaupre or Renee Kelly up there, you can do it, or just contact us and we'll bounce you to them and they can help you with this. I need to show the management the value of this program. I think I need a demo to convince them. Okay, very, very simple way to do that. We have something called the Innovation Engineering Executive Experience. It is an experience, a three-dimensional experience where they get to see, feel, touch, and experience what's it like to create ideas, to do fail fast, fail cheap, to manage it, to work with patents, which will probably be new to them, to collaborate, and so we have it. It's done as a half day, a full day, and a day and a half. The next public one is on the website. It's scheduled for here in Cincinnati in January. I am, in fact, leading that one. I happen to be the leader of that one. And so if you're interested, contact us, and we can talk to you and get you into that one. We also will take that to organizations. Sometimes organizations, we come in and just do it at your place. We just did one up in Toronto, and we can bring it to your place to get them an experience. But you're absolutely right. They got to see, feel, and touch it to experience it. I mean, it has to start out with they've got to buy into the fact that they need to change, that the current system's not going to do it. I will tell you also with that's part of what the book is designed to do, is to help that process, so that there's a book that they can read that can give them some of that advice as well. Okay? Other questions? Okay. And I think with that, we're good, and it's at the top of the hour, so just a couple minutes over. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and please just send an email. Just give us a call. Happy to talk. It's going to be a big year next year. I can tell you the momentum right behind this thing right now is cool, and it's because of the incredible people out there. And just so that you're aware, this Innovation Engineering Network, these people we've got out there that are doing stuff out there, they are freaking phenomenal. I mean, just unbelievable. We have world-class people, and otherwise they're not part of the network. We're pretty tough. We're pretty tough on it. So more than happy to help and to collaborate with you. Thank you very much, everybody.